So what was your question, Sarah?
So my question was in response to your summary of what the teacher had said about Trump being an example of somebody living in disconnection from their soul. And I asked, what does that mean?
How can someone be disconnected from
their soul?
Well, have you ever met anyone where you say they're really spacey, or that person's a space cadet? Or you'll say something to someone and they don't answer and they're just kind of staring off into space like that. And then they go, oh, sorry, I was off with the fairies. So that's when the soul has moved slightly out of the body. So it can be like here, rather than sitting as a perfect blueprint. I'm going to tell this very simply because the soul is actually in every single cell of your body. But there's different levels of it. So there's a level that's a conscious level of your soul that can come out. And I have seen, like the cord, when people talk about when they die, and before they die, there's a silver cord, or when they go astral traveling, there's a cord trailing behind them back to their body, and if that cord gets cut, they die, right? That's just this sort of common knowledge amongst, old occultists and clairvoyants, and, there's no scientific proof. But so when I tuned into President Trump, because I was interested, I'd never seen a person of his level before, particularly in a position of power. I sat in meditation, like deep meditation, and I visualized him, and I saw the cord. Everyone says it's silver, but I see it as white, going out, 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 out. Like if you're going to give it a length, 2/3 of a kilometre, half a mile. And I could just see his, like a vision, like it's like a white blueprint. Yeah, when I say blueprint, it's like a white print of him hanging out of his body. So I'm going to tell you a story, okay? So years ago, I was living in this beautiful house with Karawama overlooking this valley, and there was someone had built, because they were clever, a gorgeous glass box. So it was like a sunroom that hung off the edge of the house. Unfortunately, the bottom wasn't glass, it was wood, probably safer. And we were sitting there having a cup of tea, and we heard this God almighty noise of these screeching tires, and then this bang. And I said to the girls, oh my gosh, there's been a car crash, and it was down the valley. And so I was staring in the direction of the sound, and suddenly I just saw this body appear, and it's like instant, like that. And there's this body hanging, and it was all white. And then there was this cord going down, and it disappeared behind some trees, yeah? So I knew it was attached to the body. And I said to the girls, when I say the girls, Karu and our daughter, we adopted Monica, and Sussy was there actually. And I said, oh my God, someone has died. And they said, how do you know? And I said, because I can see the body hanging, looking down at themselves, and then in one split second, it was gone. So the cord was still there, but when the cord, it actually dissolves, it doesn't break. But when I see Trump, it's very, very similar, only the cord is soft and waving. So it's not being stretched to the point where it's going to dissolve, right? So he's not dying, but his spiritual energy is completely detached from what he's experiencing in the third dimension. So then what happens is the ego, which is the part of us that keeps us alive, like, back in the old days, back in time, we needed it to keep us alive. The ego, which is the ID point for all of the positive and negative programs, and we can talk more in depth about that ID point, is able to completely compartmentalize and take over the running of the systems of the body. Not so much like the liver and the spleen and the heart and the blood, But like the systems, when I talk about systems, I'm talking about the etheric body, the mental body, and the emotional body. The bodies that run the vehicle. Yeah? And we can get the teacher to talk more in depth. This is me.
How does that scenario come about? Clearly that doesn't just happen. There is a creation.
There has to have been trauma. Massive trauma.
That's made the soul step back.
Made the soul, like trying to escape from its situation. Yeah. So it comes from, like, I don't know his background because I don't really follow politics. I'm not political by nature. I just find him very interesting to watch. Very hard to watch, actually. I have a physical response to watching him in my solar plexus because, there's a little bit of that in all of us. And that's what we're working through as we bring in higher energies, is those little bits of us that want to have a bitch, or those little bits of us that want to control situations. That part of us that wants to have more. Because they talked about him being the epitome of... if there was a program and it went from 1 to 10 and 10 was the highest level of it, the most intense level of it, he lives in 10 on greed. It's not a judgment, it's just an observation, yeah? It's not like...
So as someone working with children and having read some things about his background and the world he grew up with, I think it would have started very early.
I think so too.
Very early.
Like you're talking 2, 3, 4.
Young.
Yeah.
When those formations of how you see the world and how you see your place in the world, how the world responds to you, what you're willing to put out, what you're not willing to put out, based on how the world reacts.
Do you know what? We so have to get 2 more cameras. We so need to be able to see you when you speak, because it's not about me. I'm just the talking head here, right? It's about the wise women, the group of people that sit. When
you said trauma, I just felt it. I just went, oh, that goes. Just knowing what I know. Yeah.
And so there's empathy for that child.
For the child.
Yeah, not for him and what he's doing, but for that child.
That child had no choice.
Yeah. So what I got really strongly is there was a super, massive chasm, like what's that big chasm in America called?
The Grand Canyon.
The Grand Canyon. There was a chasm of no love.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he was brought up in. There was absolutely no love.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, this isn't really about Trump. He's just an example. There's many more people that have this disconnection from their own soul. So